anyone comes in, don't ever open the door.
Mom gave her one last reminder before she left. She had suddenly decided to stay overnight at the house after receiving news that someone she had taken care of in the past had fallen ill. Her father was on a business trip and would not be back until noon tomorrow, so Karin had to stay home alone today. Karin is in her third year of elementary school this year. She can do most things by herself, but this was the first time she had to stay home alone until morning. Her mother seemed even more anxious than Karin and told her the same thing over and over again. She told her 5 times to be careful around the fire, and she checked the main gas bulb 6 times herself. Alone in the house, Karin ran around the hallway and up and down the stairs for no reason. It was kind of very amusing. She felt as if she had built her own castle. It was exciting, like having a great adventure. Now, what shall we do now? Karin went to the kitchen and took out a glass of orange juice from the refrigerator and poured it into a glass. Normally, people would stop her from consuming too much sweet stuff, but today no one was angry at Karin for drinking as much juice as she wanted. After finishing the first glass, Karin poured another glass and drank it all at once. About to go for a third glass, she reconsidered that she might get angry later if she drank too little and put the juice back in the refrigerator. Once her stomach was full, Karin went upstairs. She went into her mother and father's bedroom and opened the closet. Her mother's adult clothes were hanging on hangers full of clothes. Karin tried on a few of the clothes she liked and posed in front of the mirror. It was as if they weren't the right size, but she felt as if she was joining the ranks of adults and was having a lot of fun. I couldn't stop giggling. Being a stay-at-home mom is so much fun. While I was praying by myself, the night went by quickly. I microwaved dinner, which I had been told to heat up and eat, and put it on the table. It was the first time I had dinner alone. I turned on the TV and tuned into the variety show I always watch. The house became lively, but I suddenly felt a sense of loneliness. Normally, she and her mother would watch the show together and laugh, but watching it alone was not as interesting as it could have been. But Karin tried to shake off her loneliness. It's the only day I have, so I have to enjoy it to the fullest. It wasn't a funny scene, but Karin tried to burst out laughing. After 9 o'clock, her mother called her worriedly. She asked,
Are you all right? Are you all right?
I'm fine. She was patient. I really wanted her to come home soon. I was tired of praying by myself, and all I felt now was the discomfort of being alone. But I couldn't be honest, because I knew that if I admitted that, I would become a child who couldn't even stay at home.
If anything happens, you call me right away.
Okay. With that, Karin hung up the phone. The house seemed larger than usual. The door to the room at the end of the hallway was half open, leaving an opening in the darkness. No one was supposed to be home, but somehow I was afraid that I could feel the presence of someone. Maybe I should go to bed. I really needed to take a bath, but I couldn't bring myself to do it alone. At the time, the intercom suddenly rang. I was so startled that I almost screamed. Who on earth could it be at this hour? Her mother had told her never to answer it. Karin waited patiently in the hallway. She heard the intercom ringing repeatedly. Hurry up and go home. Karin covered her ears. Perhaps her prayers were answered. The ringing finally stopped. Who was it? Karin remembered that there was a monitor on the wall by the front door that showed visitors, and went to look, but the monitor only showed the front doorway, with no one in it. Karin went upstairs to her room, and pulled the futon over her head. Her eyes were bright, and she had a hard time falling asleep, but thanks to her exhaustion from praying, she fell asleep before she knew it. When he woke up, the room was pitch black. I looked at the clock and saw that it was just after 3:00 a.m. Normally she would not wake up at this hour. Karin meditated to go back to sleep, but she couldn't help but notice the darkness in the corners of the room and on the ceiling. I tried my best to divert my attention and meditate. But when I meditate, this time my ears become dull. Sometimes I hear strange noises coming from inside the house, as if the house is creaking or water is running down the drain pipes. It sounds like something you would normally hear, but now that you're home alone, you can't help but wonder if there is a meaning to the sound. It was then I heard a strange crackling sound coming from the garden. There is someone in the garden. Karin almost panicked with fear. Fearfully, she opened the curtains and looked outside through the gap. There it was. A black figure in the garden. It looked like a man in a suit. For a moment, I thought it might be my father, but he was on a business trip and would not be back until noon tomorrow. The black figure seemed to be trying to take a peek into the living room on the first floor. Who is it? Who is it? Why are you in Karin's yard? If anyone comes in, don't ever open the door. I can hear my heart pounding. That's it. I'll let her mother know. Her mother will tell her what to do. Karin got up so as not to make a sound and decided to go downstairs to the telephone. Karin carefully descended the pitch-dark staircase, step by step. She wanted to turn on the light, but she felt that it would not be good to turn on the light and let the man in the yard know about Karin's movements, so she had to groping her way down the stairs. With each step, there was inevitably the sound of footsteps. When she finally reached the first floor, Karin was sweating all over. Her breathing had become quite ragged. She hung on to the receiver and called her mother's cell phone number, which was registered. Please connect. The ringing continued for a while, and then the phone connected. Mom, you know, there is someone outside the house. Karin blurted out at once. But there was no answer. Mom? The signal was bad, or maybe it was just the sound of a whirring noise. It sounded like the sound of the wind, or perhaps a person moaning. At that moment, Karin suddenly turned her head to the side and saw it. The curtains in the first floor living room were slightly open, and a man was peering into the house from outside the window. When the man's eyes met Karin's, he grinned and gave her an eerie smile. Karin screamed and took down the receiver. The man disappeared quickly. Where did he go? The next moment she thought the intercom rang. It rang again and again in a violent and insistent manner. Then the doorknob turned violently. The man was trying to get into the house somehow. Stop it, please don't come. Karin screamed. The intercom kept going crazy, and the doorknob kept turning over and over again. The next moment, there was a sudden silence. Did they give up? When you think about it. The sound of the door being unlocked. The man had the key. Why? She didn't understand. Karin knew she had to escape, but she couldn't move. The door slowly opened. Karin shook her head as if she was trying to get out of the way. A man's leather shoes entered the doorway. A dark gray suit can be seen. Karin couldn't hold back her fear and meditated. Karin. A familiar voice. When she opened her eyes, she saw her father in front of her. Karin was speechless. What's wrong? You were up this late. Father, how did you? I got home a little early. Seeing Karin, who had sat up sobbing and eventually started to cry, her father looked at her strangely. What on earth is wrong with you? Karin, who had finally stopped crying, looked up at her father's face and now exclaimed, Behind her father, that man was standing there with a thin smile on his face.